Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a promo clash through Steam Siege deck profile of Yveltal Zoroark. So just the updated version. Let's get right into it. First, to Yveltal. This is the Oblivion Wing Yveltal. Does 30 damage, and you attach Dark Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Just your secondary form of energy acceleration, actually. This is your ideal attacker for the first, two turns of the game. Just to help you get set up. One Yveltal from Breakthrough. This is the, so it has the Pitch Black Spear attack. Does 60 damage to the active, and you can also do 60 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon EX. It also has the ability Fright Night, so all Pokemon tools in play have no effect. I was playing 2 before, but I cut it down to 1 because of that ability. You don't want to start it, because if you start it, you can't just put a Float Stone on and retreat. You have to wait until you can get a Zoroark completely set up to get that out of the active, or you have to manually retreat. Next, 2 Yveltal EX, Evil Ball, 20 damage, plus 20 more for each energy attached to him and the opposing Pokemon. Very good card. One of the best attacks in the game, has been since it came out. Then we play a 3 Zoroark line. So the Zoroark doesn't really matter which one, but this is the better one in my opinion. For 1 Dark Energy, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. And for 2 Dark Energy, 30 damage, discard an energy attached to this Pokemon. I just think that's the better one, not by much though. Then we play 3 Zoroark. Now this is the reason we play Zoroark. So stand in, make him your active Pokemon. We're going to use it for this a lot, because you can just put a Float Stone on this. And this deck has a lot of different attackers. It has the XY Yveltal, this is the Steam Siege one, but that's the same attack. The Breakthrough Yveltal, Yveltal EX, and Zoroark, as well as some attackers that I haven't shown yet, or one attacker that I haven't shown yet. So this just allows you to switch between attackers however you would like to. Plus it has the Mind Jack attack, which does 10 damage plus 30 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Another thing about the stand-in with the Float Stone is it can get rid of status conditions. If you want to keep the same attacker, but it's poisoned or something, you can just stand in and then retreat back into it. But yeah, so Mind Jack, and then Mind Jack's the attack. And Mind Jack is really good for the Mega Rayquaza matchup, because it does 30 damage plus another 30 for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I'm going to talk a lot about the Mega Rayquaza matchup at the end of the video, just because that is what's considered to be the hardest matchup. But we play a lot of ways. I think that this deck can win that matchup if you play it right. 1 Umbreon EX. This can help in the Rayquaza matchup. It's also for the Mega Mewtwo matchup. Endgame for a Dark and a Double Colorless, 70 damage. And if it knocks out a Mega Pokemon, you take 4 prizes instead of 2. So yeah, it's a very, very good card if you can pull it off. 2 Shaman EX. Draw until you have 6 cards in your hand with its ability. It's every deck plays at least 2, except, auxiliary variants, and Greninja. Then 1 Klefki. Now, Klefki is a new card from Steam Siege. This is a new addition to the deck. One of the only new additions, if not the only new addition. So, Klefki has the ability where we can discard, while it's on our bench, we can discard all cards attached to it, and then attach it to we can attach it to our active Pokemon. Now, on our opponent's next turn, their Pokemon cannot do any damage, or no effective attacks, including damage, can be done to that Pokemon. So that's mainly just a bias turn against Mega Rayquaza. 4 Professor Sycamore, discard your hand, draw 7. best draw support in the game. For N, both players shuffle their hand to their deck and draw the same amount of prize cards they have remaining. Another really, really good card. Just very solid in all aspects. To Lysander, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with one of their active Pokemon. Mainly just take knockouts. For Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards from your hand and search your deck for a Pokemon. Every deck plays 4 of those, except like Greninja. For Trainer's Mail, look at the top 4 cards of your deck and pick a trainer card you find there and add it to your hand. Again, I think basically every deck plays 4 of those. I shouldn't need to explain those. For Max Elixir, now this is one of the more interesting additions. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, attach a basic energy from there to one of your benched basic Pokemon. So you can't use this on Zoroark. This is mainly for Yveltal EX, but it can also help us get the turn 1 on a lot of other Pokemon. Like if we're forced to attach an energy to our active to retreat it, then we can retreat it into something that we Max Elixir that turn. Max Elixir is a really, really good card. I once got 9 energy onto a Yveltal EX on turn 1. Just because of Max Elixir and the Oblivion Wing Yveltal. Or turn 2, sorry. 3 via Seeker. Put a supporter from your discard pile, from your discard pile to your hand. Most decks play 4 of these. This deck's only playing 3 because that's all we have room for, and that's all we need. We play 4 N and 4 Professor Sycamore. We don't really need to get those back. That's a lot. And we play 2 Lysander, which is definitely enough. Then 3 Fighting Fury Belt. Attach it to one of your Pokemon. That Pokemon gains 10 attack and older attacks do 10 more damage, and the Pokemon now has 40 more HP. So this just makes a lot of things a lot more bulky and powerful. Especially Yveltal EX. 2 Float Stone. Pokemon this card is attached to has no retreat cost. Works on Zoroark like a charm. It can also help us get bad starting Pokemon out of the active. 1 Reverse Valley. If this side is facing you, your Pokemon is a dark type. Your dark type Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage. If this side is facing you, your opponent's attacks do 20 less damage to your steel type Pokemon. Obviously, we want this side facing us, unless our opponent's playing like a steel deck or something, and we don't want them to get that bonus. But even then, you probably just want plus 10. So yeah, that's what this is in here for. It helps us hit a lot of good numbers, like 50 damage with Oblivion Wing, with a Fighting Fury Belt. It lets Fighting Fury Belt act like a muscle band, really. That's the big thing. But we only play 1 because it's not really necessary. 4 double colorless energy. The reason this is so good is because it counts as 2 colorless, obviously. So 2 colorless can let us Sky Return with Shaman, just to get it out of the active if it's stuck there. It can let us use Endgame for only 2 energy, because that uses a dark and a double colorless. It lets us attack with Zoroark for only 1 energy, because its attack cost is 1 double colorless. It can let us use Evil Ball for only 2 energy, or Evil Ball or Y Cyclone for only 2 energy, because that's a dark and a double colorless. Or it can let us use Evil Ball, and instead of our attachment adding 20 damage, because the dark energy would only add 20 because it's only 1 energy, this counts as 2 energy, so that's adding 40 damage onto the Pokemon in 1 turn. We also can use it, and the last Pokemon we can really take advantage of it is Yveltal with Pitchback Spear, a dark energy, and a double colorless for its attack. So yeah, 4 double colorless. We definitely need to play 4 because our deck is so reliant on it. But if you are in a situation where you need to discard 1, don't feel too timid about it. It's not going to make or break you. Finally, we have 10 dark energy. So the reason we play 10 is because since we play 10, we never have a shortage of dark energy. Like, we're always able to draw them when we need them. And having 10 dark energy also means that a lot of the time we can hit dark energy with max elixir. Like, this is a lot of dark energy, and if we don't hit it with max elixir, we will be surprised. But yeah, that's the main reason we play 10, just for max elixir. And that's why we can afford to only play 4 Sycamore and 4N as our supporter count, well, other than the Lysanders. But because it's so easy to draw into dark energy, and we have Trainer's Mail for max elixirs too, like, where there's never a shortage of dark energy in this deck. Like, late game, this helps, like, early game we can draw into energy, mid game we can hit it on the max elixirs, and late game we can draw into more. Draw into the last ones we need to hit backup attackers. Like, we never have a shortage of energy in general. We have perfect amount, in my opinion. So that's the deck, guys. I don't think there's any real changes that I think I would ever make to it. I think it's good as it is. And the reason I'm really liking this deck, and this is probably going to be my main deck going into going into the next standard format, going into cities and league challenges, because I feel that as long as you know how to play the deck and you can play it right, this deck can win absolutely any matchup. Any matchup. I mean that legitimately. There's no matchup we can lose. It has type coverage. It just has everything. And really, I can't think of a deck that it can't beat. Someone could say maybe Raichu because that has weakness on Yveltal. Well, then you don't use your Yveltals, use your Zoroarks for that matchup. And I mean, there's no shortage of options this deck has. Now, the one deck that I would be most afraid of, but I still think is a positive matchup, is Mega Rayquaza. I think that this is a very easy matchup to win if you play it right. It's tricky. You're going to need to do, if you want to use this deck and use it properly, you're going to have to do a lot of playtesting. You're going to have to really know how to use it. And I'm just going to go over the entire strategy for the Mega Rayquaza, because really, if you execute your turn 1 properly, you're likely to win. If you can execute your turn 1 perfectly. Obviously, you could dead draw. That could be a factor. But it's not likely with this deck's engine. So what you want to do on turn 1 is you want to get at least one Zorua down. But you don't want to have it as one of your main Pokemon. What you want to be your active Pokemon is Yveltal EX. I know you guys are thinking, this is crazy. You don't want to bench Yveltal EX against Rayquaza. That's the reason people cut Yveltal EX down to 1 for Night March and Rayquaza, which can one-shot it. Well, no, that's wrong. Because if you just go all out with Zoroarks, because Zoroarks, if your opponent has a full bench, they can one-shot them. But they like an 8 bench. If your opponent has 8 bench Pokemon, obviously Zoroark is gonna be able to one-shot Mega Rayquaza. But that's not good enough, because just putting down a bunch of Zoroarks, your opponent's not going to bench 8 Pokemon because they don't need 8 Pokemon down to knock out a Zoroark with Mega Rayquaza. But if you have a Yveltal EX with a Fighting Fury Belt in your active Pokemon, they're gonna have to bench all 8 Pokemon if they want to one-shot it. So what you do is you bait them to do that with Yveltal EX and Fighting Fury Belt. Then you let them take the knockout on the Yveltal EX. That way you can just sweep them with Zoroarks, in which case you're going to win the prize trade anyways, because they're going to need to take 4 more prizes, when you're only going to need to have to knock out 3 Pokemon. They're going to have to knock out 4 Pokemon because Zoroark is a non-EX. Obviously that gets tricky with Lysandering for things like Shaman, but you should be very careful with your Shamans in that regard, in that matchup, unless you absolutely need to play them. So Zoroark is definitely going to be your main attacker in that matchup. Another thing you can do to swing the prize trade in your favor is you can use Klefki's ability and attach it to Shaman EX. If you think that your opponent is going to, if your opponent only has 2 prize cards left and you're afraid that they're going to Lysander up your Shaman and take the game, you can just put a Klefki on it for the turn, That way, that could also be a heavy factor in swinging the prize trade in your favor. Another big factor in swinging the prize trade in your favor could be Umbreon. And I know what you guys are thinking. Well, we can't surprise them with Umbreon because we don't play Ninja Boy. And those are the two biggest, most controversial things with my list among friends. I don't play Ninja Boy or a Pokemon Ranger. I do have them. I have both. I pulled them. But I chose not to play them because I don't think you need them, even with Umbreon for the surprise factor. Umbreon, you can power up an Umbreon in one turn with this deck easily. Double Colorless and Max Elixir. It's not hard to set up an Umbreon on the bench in one turn. You don't need the Ninja Boy to activate the surprise because the deck has a built-in engine to surprise your opponent with it. So this could also be a huge factor in swinging the prize trade in your favor. You knock out, that way you only need to knock out 2 Mega Rayquaza instead of 3. And I think that's it, guys. Like, that's how you play the Mega Rayquaza matchup, and it's very, very winnable if you play it right. There's so many matchups that you can that people are going to be really confident about when they go up against you, and then you can just win it. The most scary thing is item lock. If you can't get a good turn 1. This isn't even that big of an issue either, because you usually can get a really good turn 1, and you can usually get at least 1 or 2 attackers set up by the second turn of the game without items. Mainly your first turn is when you want to be using all of your items, because that's the time when you're going to really need them to get going. But I mean, obviously you want to use items throughout the entire game though. But still, if your opponent turn 1 items locks you, it's going to be rough. I'm just going to say that. Like, if your opponent gets a turn 1 Vileplume, it's going to be rough. But, on the other hand, Vileplume doesn't have a lot of really good partners right now. Regice is the one that I think is going to be the best. There's others, or Zygarde, like a lot of people have been hyping, but, I mean, you lose Karina. Although, I guess that's not too big of a deal in that deck. Yeah, Zygarde, Vileplume is going to be the one that everyone's hyping. I think Regice, I think it's going to be best with Regice. We can beat the Regice variant, and we can beat the Zygarde variant, because we have resistance to fighting with Yveltal EX. Really, we just need to draw energy, and we have, as I showed, we have 14 energy and lots of attackers. These are all the items in the deck. We only play 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, which obviously seems like a lot. It's a third of the deck, but comparatively to other decks, 20 items isn't a lot. And we have 8 draw supporters, so there's a good chance we're going to draw into those too. It's just like, if our opponent item locks us, we can get out of that fairly simply. It's very winnable matchup. Every matchup with this deck is very, very winnable if you play it right. I'm just trying to think, what are some other tough matchups? I think that's it, guys. If you guys are curious about any other matchups and how to play them, do post in the comment section below, and I'll let you know how to beat that matchup if I already have a plan for it myself. So just, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.